Hello, welcome back to the channel. I needed about an hour to get my head back in gear after leaving the pub where I watched the Super Cup final, where Tottenham Hotspur absolutely dominated for 85 minutes and then unfortunately conceded a very good goal that then sent us into panic and allowed PSG to then equalise in the last throws of the game and win on penalties. I have to say, I had absolutely no doubt whatsoever that when it went to penalties, that PSG would win. I asked my friend Joey, who I was with at the pub watching it, I was like, can you think of a single Spurs game that has gone to penalties that is an important game where we've won? The only penalty shootout I could think of that we won was at MK Dons, when we were playing at MK Dons as our home ground. And Dele Alli, I remember scoring a penalty and we won that game. That was a League Cup game, but I can't think of, and I'd love you to let me know in the comments, I can't think of a seriously important penalty shootout that Spurs have won. Maybe I'm missing something obvious, and if I am, then I apologise, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. But like I said, I had no doubt that when it went to penalties that we would lose. And I also have a theory, which is very often the team who misses the first penalty goes on to win, especially if it happens early. If you miss like your first or at a push your second, often you go on to win. And that's what happened today. We went 2-0 up in that penalty shootout. Sai's going to go well, says, delete the club. And everyone is clowning us again, man. Don't fret about it, because even though I'm negative about the penalties and the fact that we went from 2-0 down, there's a lot of relief for me involved in what happened tonight. A lot of relief. And I think, honestly, if I was Thomas Frank walking away from it tonight, I would be really positive. And I'll tell you why. Because those players have shown tonight that they are willing to listen to what Thomas Frank wants and to put it into practice against teams who on paper are far better than we are. And we should have won that game. We should have won that game. And so that goes to show when we go to Man City in a couple of games' time, you know, we'll have a style of play to make it difficult for them. And, you know, we can go and get results in those games. Now, here's the interesting one for me. And I sent a text to my good friend Martin after this game tonight. I was like, here's the difficulty. It's going to be so different against Burnley on Saturday at home, where we don't have creativity naturally. We literally only have Mohamed Kudus, who I thought was absolutely outstanding tonight. Pat Matasar is undoubtedly improving all the time as a player, and you can see why Thomas Frank loves him. He was brilliant tonight, and I would play him against every club who are like a classic top 6 club who have better players than us on paper. He was brilliant. But against Burnley on Saturday, when they're going to play deep and they have a great defensive record from last season, we may struggle. That's the worry. Like, do we have enough creativity? Sai's going to go well, doesn't agree with me. Says, what? We lost a 2-0 lead. PSG woke up and killed us. I don't think they did wake up, mate. I'm sorry. I just don't. I think they just got a chance on the edge of the box, and it was the first time in the entire game where we didn't close down the shot. And then the second goal was the first time in the game where we didn't double up or treble up and we let them get in behind. So I really don't think there was anything to do with PSG waking up and killing us. I really don't. I think it was just like, you know, they scored a brilliant goal from Lee. And also, I don't disagree wholly with the fact that the substitutions made a huge difference. They brought on substitutes who improved them, and we brought on substitutes who, unfortunately, in hindsight, didn't improve us. But maybe looking forward, that's not a terrible thing, because Daniel Levy is going to have to look at it, and he'll have Thomas Frank and Johan Lang and Don Fabio Paratici, who was in the crowd as well tonight, saying we need more players. We had no creativity on that pitch once Kudus went off. Tell is a work in progress, but I'm not going to jump on the anti-Tell bandwagon. I can't believe people are jumping on him. He's a young kid. He hadn't played a lot of games for Bayern Munich. He played a lot of substitute appearances. He will be a great player. I have no doubt about that. None at all. But if we get on his back now, we're killing a young kid, and we don't do that. I really, I really think there's so many more positives from tonight than negatives. Eugene Parker sent a super chat. Thank you so much. Says, I don't want to play what ifs, but I think we should have let Son go after the Super Cup. I think Kudus and Son up top would have produced a goal. Sorry to Frank, but Tell is not a Son replacement. Well, he's definitely. Thank you so much for your super chat, Eugene. I really appreciate it. Son is definitely not a. Tell is definitely not a Son replacement. He's the potential to be a great player in the future, and that's what we've got to realize. But I think what we've shown tonight, and I think more importantly than anything else, is that the players are listening to what Thomas Frank wants. They clearly like him and the coaching staff, Justin Cochrane, etc., etc. And if we can get a good result against Burnley, by which I mean a win, and obviously then hopefully, listen, we're on this knife edge with the transfer window right now. We've been suckered in again. I have. I'm sure we all have, to hope that we might get Savinho and we might get Eze. And if we were to get both of those players, as unlikely as that seems, then that would actually show some kind of understanding from the board of what we need, of what Thomas Frank needs. My fear is, and I've spoken to a few people in the Tottenham community, and their fear is as well, we might get one of those at best and then move on to other kind of number 10 targets if it's not Eze and stuff. But we seem to have, from all the reports from reputable journalists, we seem to have two players there who are keen to come to the club. And then it's almost like Daniel Levy is surprised when Man City, the richest club in the world, and Crystal Palace, a club who've just won the FA Cup and the Charity Shield and literally have a £68 million release clause on that player. Daniel Levy seems to be surprised when they're asking for big money for those players. The key should be for Daniel Levy and the board. Oh, those players want to come to Spurs. Let's just put the money there. But my fear is that won't happen. And that maybe we'll get one. And if we get none, the meltdown, my God, the meltdown from the Spurs fan base will be too much. And so Levy's under pressure again. And listen, and this has nothing to do with tonight, because I honestly thought Spurs were absolutely outstanding tonight. They were outstanding tonight. Trust me, so many supporters of Spurs' rivals tonight tuned into that game hoping and expecting us to get absolutely battered. And we didn't. We were better than them all game. But if Daniel Levy doesn't come through with these two players, then it will be a nightmare for him. It will be a nightmare for him going into this season. It really will. Richard says, good performance, to be honest. I agree. Sol says, it came down to squad options. Tell and Gray are not the ones. Big up to Frank for organising and bringing us so close, but the board need to act promptly. So we finished the last 20 minutes as strongly. The only thing I take umbrage with there, Sol, and thank you so much for your comment, is saying that Tell and Gray are not the ones. It's very hard to come on into a game of such importance and tempo, especially when the opposition are trying to kind of get it back against you. And I'll agree, I don't think Tell and Gray played great, but I don't think it was their fault in any way. That's what I'm going to say. And I think they are both very talented players. Big Tigger says, I think Frank made too many substitutions. Paulinho was subbed off too soon. Well, with Paulinho, I just don't think he's got any minutes in his legs, really, other than the Bayern Munich debacle where we lost 4-0 and he was basically walked around all game by especially by Michael Olise. I thought he put in a great shift tonight. He showed enough of his positional responsibility, of his experience, of his ability to read the game that made me feel very, very confident. I thought him and Bentancur were outstanding. Bentancur did an unbelievable job where it was almost like, oh, every time you saw him, you're surprised he was on the pitch, but he was just shifting around and putting himself in the right position. The player who I thought was unbelievable tonight, and not just Kudus, because Kudus has been brilliant for us since he's come in, and we need to keep him fit. Otherwise, we're in big trouble. But Pap Matasar tonight, what a performance, I have to say. What a performance. Grown Up North says, people are being too harsh. We took on one of the best teams in the world who walked the Champions League to pens. We'll get a couple more people in, hopefully, and we'll be in a good place. Yeah, I don't disagree. Colin says, why did we interfere with a winning team? Because if we hadn't and we'd conceded 2 goals at the end, we would literally be asking, why didn't he bring fresh legs on? It always makes sense to bring fresh legs on. I'm sorry, it just does. And I actually don't blame. Neither of those goals were because of, in my opinion, a lack of legs. The first one got out to Lee and he put in a brilliant finish. And then the second one, we just got doubled up on. And I think Romero was a little bit caught between two stools of, do I keep my defensive line on the 18-yard box where we were always told to under Ange Postecoglou, or do I drop a little deeper? And in the end, he kind of did neither. And what he should have done was gone with the runner, the scorer. I think his name was Ramos with a good header. It was a great cross. So we didn't double up on the outside like we had been all game. And then Romero didn't go with his runner. Just a good goal. The Big D, thank you so much, says, everyone gave us no chance. We were 90 seconds away from victory. We need to calm down. A few additions, we will be fine. We did better than most Premier League teams against some small margins. Completely agree. And here's the other thing. And maybe this is, you'll be annoyed at me for saying it, but I'd much rather of us not conceded in the last few minutes against Man United and done it tonight than the other way around, because we wouldn't have even been here. So sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. And against Man United, if you remember the last kick of the game, they had overhead kick at the back stick. Was it Casemiro? Went wide. Today they scored with one of the last kicks of the game. So I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. Big Ticker says, Paulinho was eager enough to stand up and scream at the sideline, even after being subbed off. I think he had enough to finish the game. Yeah, you may be right, but actually I think that was more, for me, a good example of where the team have evolved. And how much did we see Thomas Frank on the sideline, the set-piece coach on the sideline, Justin Cochran on the sideline, and then after he came off, Paulinho on the sideline. And that, to me, shows really good things from Paulinho, like confidence, leadership, trying to use his experience. I think that will really benefit Tottenham. And look, I think straight away, Tottenham are in a pressured game at home to Burnley. But I think after that result, after the win against Arsenal in pre-season, I really do genuinely think that this crowd who go to Spurs Burnley on Saturday will be behind them, and they'll really want us to get off to a good start. And yeah, look, I think it'll be a difficult game. I think we'll have to break down a deep block, but get the ball to Kudus. I think he'll probably play Odebear. I'm really intrigued, I have to say. Imagine being in Brennan Johnson's shoes at the moment. Johnson again, ole ole. Because I think Thomas Frank realizes that he is not a player who's going to get involved in the game enough. And bear in mind, we're trying to buy another wide forward at this point as well. So I'm not sure where Johnson's minutes are going to come. So that's another interesting thing. The Big D says, smash the likes for Barnaby jumping on this late. I appreciate it, mate. Really do. Just wanted to talk to you guys. Andrew John says, tell us 20 years old, killing his confidence is not going to motivate him to improve. Completely agree. He's 20, guys. He's 20. It'll be fine. He's a great finisher. Remember that finish on the volley against Aston Villa last year? He'll be great. Don't you worry. He'll be absolutely great. Grown Up North says, we had shape. For those that didn't watch the game, there is a system now. The fullbacks aren't playing suicidal football. The midfield is starting to show structure. It's very positive. I completely agree. And I think, it's like there are times where if the football you're seeing isn't enjoyable enough, then as Spurs fans, you get frustrated with things like lumping it in the box from deep or long throws. But actually, when you realize you've got, and look, maybe it's easier to say this in a game like this, but when you realize you've got a manager who communicates really well, so for instance, I'm talking about Thomas Frank as opposed to, say, a Jose Mourinho, then you absolutely understand that he is like marginal gains. So many goals are scored from set pieces. So of course we get it in the box. And also, I've been talking about this all summer. Thomas Frank wants a physical side, a side with strength and height. And that's why we scored 2 goals from set pieces and second balls and knockdowns, and we didn't concede from any. And I think that will really benefit us in games. Now, take that forward to the Burnley game, right? Again, under Ange last couple of years, and I don't know what's going to happen, but under Ange, we would just try and play the same kind of football the whole time. But against Burnley, when they're likely to be in a deep block and fighting for their lives, they will give away a lot of fouls. And as a result, Pedro Porro will be whipping the ball into the box. And now we've got big players who can dominate from set pieces. And we scored a set piece against Arsenal, or no, we hit the post twice against Arsenal in pre-season. We scored a couple tonight. And we will be dangerous from those goals. And the moment when you're playing against a team like Burnley and you get the first goal or you get a goal to get you ahead, then they have to change how they play. And that's why I think Spurs, with these kind of marginal gains, are going to be better this season for sure. Miles says, I know if we won the Super Cup, Levy would have stopped chasing players, so maybe this might be a blessing in disguise. I know it seems like that might be the case, but I don't think so. But I do understand why you would say it, because there is an argument that people say about stuff like that, but I don't think so. I think Levy understands. I do think we need players. I'm just going to have a look on Twitter to see what, because there are quotes coming out from the post-match press conference. So Alistair Gold is just putting some quotes up. I'll try and bring them to you. Thomas Frank said, I knew we had to do something a little bit different against PSG. It was a special operation. In medical terms, the operation succeeded, but the patient died. So not that good in the end, but we worked on a game plan that was a little bit different and very close to succeeding. Luis Enrique said this, Tottenham deserved much more. They played better than us. Football is sometimes unfair. I'm happy for that, but I must say it was unfair. Luis Enrique, listen, you listen to the opposition manager. He knew that Spurs deserved to win tonight. Eugene with another super chat says, this feels like back to Mourinho football after subbing Kudus. Park the bus and get punished. We got pressured too much at the end. Well, I think that's one way of looking at Eugene, and I appreciate your message and your super chat. But also, we absolutely parked the bus for 98 minutes against Man United in the final. We're just a bit unlucky to concede at the end there tonight. I'm not fussed about the way we played at all, I have to say. Thomas Frank went on to say, I'm very proud of the players, the club, the team. They gave everything. Played against one of the best teams in the world. 75 to 80 minutes, gave away nothing against a team with 4 players up front with incredible individual talent. I couldn't agree more. I have to say, I could not agree more. Look, you win some, you lose some, and we lost that tonight, and it happens. But you cannot say that what you saw tonight was what you kind of expected to see in the run-up of it, especially with us having kind of had that Bayern Munich 4-0 where we just played around. I said after that Bayern Munich, I'm desperately hoping that it was jet lag, and it clearly proved it, because Spurs were absolutely on it tonight. They were absolutely on it, and I'm just so pleased that they know and understand what this manager is asking for, and they're there for it. I really am. Abu says, when is Levy going to pay? Sick of the little man. He's holding us back. Look, I'm still confident that we are going to look to spend another £200 million in this window, and they're just trying to be patient about it. But let's see what happens. Big Tigger says, at least Frank tried. Andrew would have stood there soulless. Okay. William says, Lang has 2 weeks to save his job. Bring back Paratici to those idiots. Get off tails back. Well, Paratici was there with Langer today. So Paratici is working for Spurs still in his consultancy role. Trust me. So they're working together. Gary, thank you, mate. Good to see you again. So such a shame we played a great 80 minutes, then we dropped too deep. I just think that's what happens when you're playing a deep block against a better side. I don't know. Maybe I've had, because I've had 4 beers and a couple of vodkas. I'm more too positive or something. I don't know, but I'm just really honestly relieved and ecstatic that they've shown that they really are listening. Speedy doesn't agree, saying other dipstick manager. Sol says, Tell concedes a not needed free kick and completely misses the penalty, not even drawing a save. Not convinced even against Bayern in a one-on-one. He fluffed. Bit more positivity from Grown Up North says, Sarr will be a beast this season. What he missed last season, like with Bergvall, was a midfield system. He'll be a big player for us. Listen, I said it earlier. I think Sarr was magnificent tonight. I really do. Joe, I think, is on my side a little bit. Proud of the boys. Expected a 4-0 loss or worse. Need to work on penalties. The thing about the penalties, I was surprised at. I saw a social media video over the summer when they were out in Hong Kong where they did penalty practice. And Christian Romero was the only one to score in that penalty practice. So I was expecting Romero to step up. I would have had Romero step up over Van der Ven and over Tell. And as skipper, I'm kind of genuinely surprised he wasn't in the first 5. Eugene says, I have a flashback from Mourinho football, park the bus and we get punished. I think I've already said that. Apologies. Peter says, so impressed with Kulu and Paulinho. I'm sure you mean Kudus, but yeah, absolutely. Big Tigger says, it looked like Gray gained a lot of weight, looked out of shape or he grew. I don't think he's out of shape at all. He's just a bigger boy now. He's always been quite tall. Henry says, love the positivity, Barnaby. Thank you. Yeah, no problem, mate. This is just how I feel today. Let's see. Listen, I do, like I've said, I do think Burnley will be difficult. It might be a matter of the odd goal here or there against Burnley and needing to stay tight. But here's another positive for you. Mickey van der Ven played a whole game. He doesn't have to sprint as much in this system. And he's still a worldy defender. So really fantastic. Trung says, was this PSG's first game after 3 weeks break? We need to put this loss in context. If we lose first EPL game, we're going to be in trouble. Yeah, well, let's see how we do after Burnley on Saturday. And Andrew, I think, is similar to me as well. Says, my God, I'm much more hopeful for the season after that display. If we can get Eza and Savinho, we will get top 4. Listen, that would be pretty amazing. But listen, I do think there's pressure on Levy now to go and get those players. Those players have showed that they want to come to the club. And let's see what happens. I've got a quote here from Christian Romero. He says, it hurts to lose like this, no doubt, but it will make us stronger as a team. We'll work and fight to relive these moments together. Thankful to all the fans for the incredible support on the road today. See you at home on Saturday, family. And I'm just going to end with this because I just wanted to do a little 20-minute video. And thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it so late at night. But this is what I'm going to end with is Christian Romero is now talking about family. He's talking about like winning together and learning from things. And we were all absolutely sure he was going to leave. And now he's the captain. He's the captain of the club. And I think he's going to drag us to success. And then the last thing I just want to say is we have a Champions League tournament to play this year. 8 games minimum in the group phase. And tonight, one of the most important things tonight for me is we've shown against the kind of team that we might end up playing, a first seeded team in the Champions League, we have proven in front of them that we can make it difficult for them. Whereas a lot of people have been talking about how, Spurs finished 17th and so they're going to get absolutely dominated in the Champions League. I think Thomas Frank has shown that he will set up systems to make it very difficult for those teams who are expected to beat us. And therefore, I think the chances of us getting through the Champions League into the knockout stages are higher as a result of seeing this. And then now, it's the 13th of August today. The window is the 1st of September. How much does Daniel Levy actually want to back his manager and say, I want to give you the players that mean even while we've got injuries out, we have squad depth enough to be creative, not just against the teams on the break like we were today, the transitional teams, the teams that we play where we sit back and play on the transition on the break. And we did cause a lot of trouble. In the first half, I think we had 4 or 5 shots on target to their 1. But also in those games like we're going to encounter against Burnley on Saturday, we need to make our own chances. All right, guys, listen, appreciate you hanging on in there to listen to me. I just wanted to get on it. I will come back with my usual video, if not tomorrow morning first thing, and it should be, then definitely Friday. And then we'll look ahead to the Burnley game. And my plan is for Burnley to do a watch along, and I'll let you know where that will be. All right, guys, come on, you Spurs. We were unlucky tonight.